I don't know.
There's also a problem. Vivarium has this, and Palm Spring doesn't. Of every director feels like their movie has to be deep. Of their movie has to have a deep message,
which in turn makes it so not.
Yes,
like because you're overplaying that fucking hand, and it's just.
But when you're doing something like Palm Spring and you're not trying to be deep, it becomes more deep. By not trying to like have a deep message, you have a deeper message because you just realize it's a subconscious thing. You can't. It's a subconscious thing of basically if you're not trying, it's always going to be. The message is always going to be stronger because you're writing what feels natural. You know? You're talking about being deep. It has to come from deep inside you. Well, you're not. It's not coming deep inside of you if you're constantly thinking just like, all right, what messages should I try to put in this? What you're going to write naturally.
He said coming deep inside of you.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
I'm not going to let you slide on that.
But if you're doing a movie like Palm Springs where you're trying to, okay, what's the worst situation I can put this guy in that's going to be really funny, you're naturally going to come up with like what your biggest anxiety is. And therefore you're going to hit a deeper nerve than someone who's just like, how can I make people cringe, man?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, or it's like, you know, even just like trying to forge relationships and make shit happen in general. It's like if you try to fucking plan it out, it's never gonna be as magical a connection than one that develops organically. Yeah, I don't know if that's a bit of a too far of a stretch, but I think it kind of like essentially it's like if you're just being like centered and like being like honest in the process, like the results are going to reflect that, and people are going to appreciate that more because sometimes you almost like you think you have to outsmart people, and that's never going to happen because people are really smart and they're emotionally smart and they're going to respond to something that feels truthful or feels like it's based in something you know about or it just feels like forced, and this feels totally and utterly forced. And
so I want to talk about just like how different the kind of endings of these two movies. Of Vivarium is extremely pessimistic. It has a sad ending. It has like a sad, tragic ending. And it's another thing with like when you're forcing a like fake deep movie, they always do this thing of like the darker ending is the more realistic or the more like thought-provoking ending, which is not really true.
Yeah.
You think that being dark and being depressing is more realistic, which isn't the case. Like realism,
it's not necessarily the case. Yeah, and I was convinced that Palm Springs was going to end with it not working out for that same reason.
Yeah,
sure. Because I thought like, it's almost like how in the 80s or 90s, like 100% of the time everything works out perfectly.
Yeah.
Like I felt like, okay, obviously this is not going to end well because that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Like we're ending things in tragedy or over the top or nothing,
People think that they have to end in tragedy in order to be deep, and you don't.
Right.
Because first of all,
which is such a fucking sophomoric idea.
That's not how real life is. Like you think of like I'm always going to think the worst is going to happen, and that makes me a realist. Well, not always. The worst doesn't always happen. Sometimes good things happen, and sometimes relationships work out. You're not being deep by saying that like, oh, all relationships are failures. 50% of marriages end in divorce, man.
Yeah, well, just to relate this to my industry, which is music. You see this all the time, and I just, I deal with my own insecurities about my ambitions in music because when you are ambitious and you say that, you know what, maybe this could work out. you're putting your ass on the line because it's way more embarrassing if it doesn't than if you're starting, or maybe embarrassing is not the right word, but if you make your intentions clear that you have goals and you're trying to do something, it's so much easier for the pessimist to be like, yeah, like it's the same hipster bullshit mentality, which is like you fuck it up before you could fail. When really you're being the coward. Like, you're afraid to try. You're afraid to fucking do anything. So it's easier for you. So because you're afraid to fail, you're not even going to try.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know why that's, and it's not really, that's not revered by like real people who are doing shit. But there's this stupid attitude that's like pervasive in indie rock. Yeah, which is just like this whole fucking slacker, too cool to try.
Pervasive
it's a bunch of bullshit.
Independent films too.
Yeah,
and that is what we're comparing. That is what we're comparing. Vivarium's an independent film. Yeah. And saying that Palm Springs isn't an independent film isn't fair because it was made on a very low budget. But this was a film that was. It was made on a bigger budget than Vivarium was. Like Vivarium, just by looking at it, you can tell like it was made kind of on the cheap. I mean, it's all takes place in one house.
I didn't necessarily get that. I got
or smaller budget, just. But Palm Springs, I mean, one, you have Andy Samberg and you have like a lot of pretty well-known people. J.K. Simmons is in it. J.K. Simmons is also fantastic. He's
awesome.
In it.
Dude, he's great.
He's great in everything.
He's fucking great. Like he never. I shared an elevator with him when I stayed in L.A. in 2011 with our cousin Katie. I guess he lived in the building as well, or whatever. He was there, but he's. That's just. I got to bring that up.
He knocks it out of the park in every performance, and I love about him is just like every kind of performance he has, you can tell he's having fun with it. He's going 100% all out. He goes all out 100% with this character.
And it's a fucking awesome character.
The character he plays has kind of been trapped in this time loop, and he's mad at Andy Samberg for it and has kind of been hunting him down for, we don't know like really how long they've been in there, years probably. Basically hunting him down as revenge, and he goes all out. And it's another thing too about the performance difference between these two movies is like in Palm Springs, everyone goes all out. Everyone's performance is to the top, while in Vivarium, every performance is kind of muted.
Well, not the child and the wife.
Not the child. Well, the child, no. The wife, kind of. Like,
really, the only muted person to me is Jesse Eisenberg, and that's just because he's a fucking muted person.
I feel like just knowing that actress, you could have gotten so much more from her.
Okay.
I felt like she was very held back, and I feel like that's a choice.
Okay, you spent the first part of this episode talking about how you thought she was actually one of the good performances.
No. She is one of the good performances, but I thought it wasn't. It was held back.
Yeah,
it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't a great movie.
No, and it's not a great movie.